shaking underneath, trying to take me alive. Get ready for the fallout. Can't stop me now. I got no rival. I'ma find my way through the blood and pain game of survival. Any time or place, watch 'em run away. I got none. I'll be standing on my own, never gonna take my throne. I got no rival. Watch 'em run away. I got no, I got no rival. Tell me now, what you gon' do? We can do this face to face. The reckoning is coming real soon. Doesn't matter what you say. Try to tell you this is my moment. Can't take mine 'cause I own it. Don't you know that I'm locked and unloaded? You're out of focus. Get ready for the fallout. Can't stop me now. I got no rival. I'ma find my way through the blood and pain game of survival. Any time or place, watch 'em run away. I got no. I'll be standing on my own, never gonna take my phone. I got no rival. Watch 'em run away. I got no, I got no rival. No rival. I got no rival. No rival.
Good evening, welcome to another episode of Careers in Canada, the channel where you bring professional opportunities and valuable insights about Canada. After 3 years of podcasting in Portuguese, we've decided to make a change, and now we'll also be featuring episodes in English. We're thrilled to kick off this new chapter with recruiters from the Peel Police Service. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe our channel and follow the social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook. We are in all the platforms, and also in every podcast platform around the globe. Before we start, we have a few messages from our sponsors. We are here in TFA Studios for those who are looking for information about tourist visas, permanent residence in Canada, citizenship process, study in Canada. TFA is your go-to solutions. TFA has been proud supporter of Careers in Canada since the very beginning. Follow them on social media. Don't forget to have an exclusive 15% discount code for you. The link is in the description here. And then we have MBA Tax Solutions. As the years come to the end, the fiscal year begins. Our tip for you is to file your taxes safely with MBA Tax Solutions. If you need assistance with starting a business in Canada or any another account solutions, there you go to help you. Be sure to follow them on social media as well. And we are incredibly proud to have Brazil Remittance, one of our sponsors as well. Like Brazil Remittance has been in Canada for 32 years, specialized in money transfer from Canada to Brazil. They offer highly competitive rates and warm personalized service in Portuguese, English, and Spanish as well. Be sure to follow them on social media. We also have here our great partner, Mellow Hawk Logistics, an international freight transport company based in Toronto, with a warehouse across Canada. Specialized in global logistics, they offer a wide range of services from air, sea transport to customs clearance, ensuring safe delivery to the right destination. For those relocating, they provide a comprehensive international relocation service, handling every detail with the professionalism that has made them leaders in the industry. Last but certainly not least, simply the best burger I ever had. I invite my guests here to try. It's amazing. It's the We Burger. And I'm not saying this just because they are our partners. Just go there. They are in the Winter Festival and Harbourfront. Now they are amazing. So Iberg is a Brazilian company. He's gaining tremendous space in Canada, believe it or not. When they tried to do like burger to Canada, they said, man, are you crazy? So, but anyway, they are doing a really good job. So other now to be amazed to find out, or they will be follow their social media. All the links are the description as well. So okay, all right. Today you're starting really excited, guys, here, and the highest level, right? So we know that one of actually the biggest, one of the biggest audience that we have me on the podcast, or when we invite police officers. You know, people love police officers. People are really interested on that. So today's will be perfect. So we're gonna help you to understand how works the PU process, like to enter to be part of the PU police force, and session tips. We prepare several of questions here, and they're gonna answer to help you if you want to go to the police. It'll be perfect. So we are here with two detectives. They are not only recruiters. Detective Constable, if I'm not wrong, Danny Marttini and Justin Marra. Welcome to Careers in Canada.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
So my first question here is like, can you walk us through the typical recruitment process for someone looking to become a police officer in Canada?
So the first step is to apply. All of our applications are online. You can find that on our website under Work With Us. And then once you apply, you're invited for a fitness assessment. That is our shuttle run test and our pursuit restraint circuit. It's the Ontario standard for fitness to become a police officer in Ontario. Once successful there, you go to a local focus interview, which is an interview just to get to know you and understand what you know about the region of Peel. If you're successful at that point, you go into an in-depth interview where we get to know everything about the applicant, their resume, their experiences, everything they have to offer, our police service. And from there, if successful, you go to a psychological assessment. So we're assessing someone's suitability for the job. We're not trying to diagnose them with anything. We're trying to see if they can work this job under pressure, under stress, following direction, and all of those important qualities that are hard to measure with just a resume and an interview. So during that entire process, we're running a background check. So we're doing all of our checks and security checks to make sure that each applicant is who they say they are and what they say they are, at least from a criminal standpoint. And then from there, if everything checks out, they go off to a board interview where they sit in front of senior officers and they can ask them any question under the sun. But realistically, at that point, they want to know if this person is a good fit for our service, if they have what it takes to do the job at a high level.
That's nice. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, second question. How long does take the recruitment process usually take from application to final hiring?
The average applicant is going to take about 3 to 6 months. It can go longer, and sometimes it'll actually go faster. It's just that when we look at every applicant, it's a very unique process, because I'm not looking just do you meet all the check boxes. I want to know for sure that you're going to be the right fit for our organization. So I have to look at your entire application for your suitability, and hopefully you're the right match and it goes very smoothly. So sometimes as quickly as 3 months.
Interesting. I have a question just follow here, just come to my mind, because I know there is a volunteer, right, job with the police. This is also important, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We do like it when people volunteer with the community. Most people that say they want to be a police officer are already saying, I want to give to the community. And we're like, that's fabulous. What are you doing already? So if somebody says, oh, I'm not doing anything, well, then that's a problem. You said that's really important to you. So we really value the volunteer giving back to the community. And you can do it however you want. We say pick something that you feel driven by, that you value, and do it on a regular basis. We don't need hundreds or thousands of hours, just something that you do. Maybe it could be a couple times a month, could be once a week, depending on your personal life and family structure, because how much time do you have available? So we do like that.
But it makes lots of sense, right? So if you want to help the community, you're not helping right now. So why? Yeah, this is perfect. I like the reasoning behind everything the police does, because it makes lots of sense, right?
Absolutely.
So we do have a role within our police service where people are volunteering as officers called auxiliary police. Some of our favorite people are auxiliary police officers. And realistically, they do a great job of bringing their own unique experience to our service, as well as learning from us about policing and how to do the job. So that's a unique experience from a volunteer perspective.
Very interesting. Okay, let's come back to the questions. Are there any specific eligibility criteria like age, education, physical fitness that candidates must meet before applying?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few. So on our website, like my partner was saying before, and for those that have never gone to our website, you'd be going to popolice.ca and going to join us. And when you go under that work with us application, you'll see all those minimum requirements. And we're looking at everything from your basics to you need to be a Canadian citizen or have your permanent residence. You need to have your G license, so that's just a full regular G license with less than 6 demerit points on it. You can't have a criminal record, right? I mean, some of these things make sense. You need to be a good person. You have to have CPR, first aid. You also have to have a certificate by the Ontario Chiefs of Police, but it does outline how to go about on our website to get it and when you're required to achieve it. So it usually takes about 2 weeks to get this certificate, but you only need to get it once. Like, you can apply without it, but you'll need it before we'll give you a letter of hire. So usually when you're working with your recruiter at a certain stage, we'll say to you, you're looking really solid. It's time to get that certificate if you already don't have it on file when you applied with us. So those are your basics. I think that I'm looking at grade 12 as well.
High
You'll
school
need,
education.
Oh,
yeah,
minimum,
yeah,
yeah.
minimum. But I mean, am I looking for someone with just the minimum requirements?
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
not. But equally, everybody has their own experiences. So we might have somebody that is older, has more job life experience, but maybe only has that grade 12 education, that high school. But because they have all these other things that they've been doing in their life, that we can use that life experience. But if I had someone straight out of high school, so they're like 18 years old, hitting that basic age requirement, they don't have a lot to pull on. So we might say you might need additional things.
Perfect. Very nice. Is post-secondary education required, or is there? You just answer that. So there's a specific type of background. Yeah, you just answer that. Okay,
It's
Okay.
good because it adds value, right?
Yeah.
It adds value, it adds life experience as well as perspective. Like, I'm sure most people that go to post-secondary education can tell you that that's not what got them the job. What got them the job is what they learned about themselves and the skills they learned while at school that made them a viable candidate for whatever career they're looking for. So
Yeah.
when it comes to policing, yeah, the post-secondary education is not mandatory. You don't need police foundations. You don't need criminology. You don't need those specific programs. We just want you to come to us as a complete person, to understand who you are and how you operate, but also be able to succeed in an academic environment.
Yeah, makes lots of sense, right? We interviewed a Brazilian guy. He entered the police, and he works for BOP. He's a very strong police in Brazil, right? They do like deal with really hard crimes in Brazil. He very strong. It's hard to enter as well. And in his case, I remember from the conversation, the police asked him because you faced something in Brazil that probably not gonna face here, and nobody wants to. How you gonna deal with that? I saw it was a pretty nice question, it's a valuable question, right? So because you analyze how the person like is as well, right? So this is nice. It's not only about qualification and how the so I think it's a lot of factors, right, to look for the ideal candidate. So it's very interesting, the recruiting process.
Yeah, it really is, because even in that question that you're alluding to about that individual and the way we ask questions, that happens during our in-depth interview with any candidate. We'll get into those what we call behavioral specific questions, where there's situations that you've been involved in. How did you manage them? What did you do? Because we want to see, how does that person think? How can they deal with different things? So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's gonna be day to day, right? You have to be ready. Very nice. Okay, how important is physical fitness in the recruitment process, and what kind of physical testing do candidates undergo?
So the fitness is important. Like I mentioned earlier with our requirements, the shuttle run, which is a progressive like cardio based test where you basically run 20 meters at an accelerated pace over time, and the minimum requirement is level 7. The other one is a pursuit restraint circuit where you have to climb upstairs, jump over a fence, do a dummy drag. There's other equipment that you have to handle to simulate maybe arresting somebody or gaining physical control over somebody. It's just to make sure that people can actually do what's required of them on the job. So it's the provincial way to sort of standardize the minimum requirement to actually physically do the job. So I know it was very wordy, but
It is a require. Like the reality is if you can't pass the minimum physical standards, your application wouldn't move forward, right? So let's say you came in and tested and you came in just under, we'll let you come back, but you probably have to wait anywhere from 3 to 6 months before we'll let you retest, because you should be ready to go and you should be able to meet those standards, when you submit your application.
Usually, how many people go to this physical test? Like
Everybody that wants to work with us has to go.
no,
through
but
the
no, but
test.
how many people usually? Like
Well, yeah, there's it's running. The testing runs weekly when it
Oh, my
comes to, and
goodness.
these are all people that have applied and are testing.
how is the approval rate usually?
It's not so good.
Yeah, this-
Which is why we say to everybody, if this is what you want, look into it and make sure you're training accordingly, because it's not that the test is super difficult, but sometimes people will be like, oh yes, I'm fit, I run, and we're like, okay, but they run maybe very, very slow and not very long and not very often, but they think for themselves that makes them fit.
Yeah, I think also there is a strategy, right, for this picking line they call, right? Yeah, usually, for my understanding, guys can correct me if I'm wrong, people try to do really fast at the beginning. The secret is not, because the time decrease, right? So you have to be at the beginning slow and then go decrease. You got to save your energy for the
Yes.
the 4 steps, right? So it has
Nice
a
and
strategy.
steady, yes.
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's the perfect advice. The other reason why fitness is important is it shows your dedication, your own resilience, and that discipline to be able to have a fitness regimen and be consistent, right? This job consistency is important. You have to show up and you have to be prepared, right? So that's already built into your life through fitness, through exercise. That's the easiest way for us to simulate stress is through exercise. So you're preparing yourself to succeed in the job by exercising regularly.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, and now this is a really good question as well here. What kind of mental health assessments or psychological evaluations are part of the recruitment process?
So every applicant has to go through a psychological assessment. And like I was saying before, that is to assess their suitability if they can do the job. They can follow directions, if they work under pressure, if they have healthy coping mechanisms to deal with stress. All these very complex traits that people have or they don't have, it's hard to really target and to develop from an interview. Whereas you have a psychologist, that's something that's well within their framework to understand on a deeper level, and they actually have systems in place to test it and to evaluate it. So that's why they go for a psychological assessment. It's not to diagnose them with any disorders or anything like that. It's just to see if they have what it takes at this stage in their life to start a career in policing. So even one person can fail 1 year and pass the following year. One person can pass 1 year and 10 years down the road, they might fail. It depends on where they're at that moment. If you fail your psych assessment, you're deferred for 1 year across Ontario.
Okay, interesting, Lori. And okay, if I just wonder here, if the person fails, how the person will improve? Do you give some reasons for why they might be able at that moment to enter in the police?
So
Go ahead.
okay. It's actually a little tricky. So while we get a full report and we can read what happened or what was going on or the thought process as to why that person isn't suitable, we can't actually share that information with them.
Okay.
Because if I gave you that, then you could just try to retest a year later and sort of try to cheat the system.
Oh, yeah.
And we can't do that.
Yeah.
But what we can do is encourage people that depending on what kind of life or job experience that they have, things that they can do to kind of reset themselves. Maybe they need more experience, more development. Maybe they need, if we see something maybe that shows that they're not dealing with stress very well, we'll talk about what do you do to, reset yourself. Maybe you need a different fitness regime. Maybe it's a health and diet. Maybe you need to start yoga or meditation. So we'll try to give encouraging information. And then of course we'll tell them, reflect on your actual interview. What questions were you asked? What answers did you give? Is there anything from there that you can take away? Right. So we really put it back on the candidates to try to source out what, self-reflection. Can I identify where I need to develop and grow? And if they can figure that out, then they will be successful probably when they come back. They have a higher likelihood.
It's a strong trait to have, to self-reflect. And that's something Danny and I push on people even when they come to information sessions all the time, is right now, look at yourself and ask who you are, what you have to offer, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and really actually think about it. And if you have weaknesses that you can fix fix them. If you have weaknesses you need help fixing, go and find help. But we want you to come to us when you're ready. We don't want you to come to us if you're not ready and then be discouraged if you're unsuccessful. Do what you have to do to prepare yourself. But it starts with that initial reflection. And everywhere along the way, every interview, you should reflect on where you can do better, what you did poorly, what you did well, and where you can improve. And if you carry that attitude not only for policing, but for other careers, it will help you be successful.
Yeah, makes lots of sense. Yeah, I always impressed with the answer because come on, it's like you just want to see if the person is a good person, right? Has values. You're gonna add the value to the police force, so it's perfect. I remember one advice there. The guy said for Brazilians who wanna go to enter the police, he said, hey, when you go to the test, one thing you have to do: tell the truth. Don't lie to the police.
Absolutely.
Yeah, don't lie. The worst thing that you can do is lie. Maybe you had done something bad right in the past. I don't know, not a crime, but maybe something that is like, and it's good, but just tell the truth, right? So it's better to be honest, right? You're probably gonna catch, right? So if he lies,
so just be transparent, because the only thing that will crush you is lying.
Yeah, and then everything done, right? If you lie, it doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so let's move forward. How does the police force access a candidate's emotional intelligence or their ability to handle high stress situations?
So the ability to handle high stress situation from a psychological standpoint is handled by the psychologist. The emotional intelligence and the stress management is also developed through the in-depth interview, through those behavioral specific questions. So they tell me about a time, or can you tell me X, Y, Z? So when we ask someone, tell me about a time you had a high stress situation and how did you deal with it, or something along those lines, we want to know the steps they took, right? So by answering those questions in great detail, we're going to learn a bit about them and how they manage stress. And through talking to them through that behavioral specific portion of the interview, we're going to learn what their emotional intelligence is like, right? If they're thinking things through beforehand, if they're thinking it through after the fact, if they're being self-reflective or analytical after the fact. So
yeah, I mean, remember, when we do that interview, we're also going to be making phone calls and following up and meeting people that interact with this individual. So we'll ask them questions about, have you seen this person in this type of situation? How did they act? What was going on? Right? So we'll see, do those stories align, or are we getting two different versions of the same person?
Very interesting. Nice. I'm so curious to see how. I know there's probably not allowed, right? But I'm so curious to see how is like this process, right? To be there and see how you manage the situation, how they can answer, right? I think the good thing, right? Is very interesting because I heard sometimes take longer, right? So
yes. Sometimes it does.
Okay. What are the most common challenges candidates face during the recruitment process, and how can they overcome them?
One of the biggest limitations is people come in and be the person they think we want them to be. So they'll put on a show or put up a face, and it's not authentic, it's not genuine. So we're not getting to know who they are. So with that, there's no real energy felt between the person. You're not understanding who they are as a person. And those interviews are get to know the person, right? They can speak to their resume. We've already reviewed it. We already know everything they've done, where they went to school, all their work experience, all that. The interviews, we want to know who the person is. And if they're not letting us see who the person is, that's a limitation that stops us from being able to actually understand who we're talking to, right? So the best advice is to be yourself, to be honest, be genuine, and to not be afraid of who you are. Some people are outspoken, they're loud, they talk really loud. Some people are not. Be confident, and whether you're a quiet speaker or a loud speaker, your confidence will shine through. So
yeah, be you.
Nice. Are there any misconceptions or myths about becoming a police officer that you often have to address with potential recruiters?
I don't think everyone understands what the job always entails, right? So sometimes you'll have an idea of what they think policing is because they've seen a movie or shows, or they're watching the news, but they're watching the news from another country. And the reality is policing is different to every area. And here in Canada, more importantly here in the region that we work for in Peel, it's very specific to how we work and what we're dealing with. So I do always like to say to people is, really, what do you think policing is? Because I want to know what their true understanding of it is. And if it's not realistic, then I want to clarify that for them. I want to break it down so that they can understand that, you know, and I get this all the time. People are like, you know, what does it feel like that you are always shooting people? And I'm like, I've never shot anybody in my 23 years on the job. You know, so knock on wood. You know, but that's a misconception that we're out there acting in a certain way because people have seen certain things. And that's not to say that nothing bad ever happens. Of course it does. But does that mean we're dealing with that level day in and day out? No, not here and not where we work. And we have a lot more rules and regulations that we have to abide by, and people don't realize that. So even when you look at, though I don't have a body camera on, for the one, all officers that are wearing body cams, they're also hooked up to all of our equipment, as in our gun and our tasers. So if I even pop it out of the holster, it's live, it's going, it's showing everything that's going on. I can't hide that, and I have to back up why I took out that equipment. I have to write reports on that afterwards, explaining my actions and what the situation entailed. And people don't understand that level of like scrutiny that we're under, that we have to deal with and report to our supervisors and to our incident or our training area that has to go in, because there are reports that go everywhere, but people don't realize that, right? So, and for myself, even when I first got onto the job, you know, I grew up respecting police. So I had a certain idea of how I thought people always treated police. But when I got on the job, I realized, no, that's not true. Not everybody likes me. And people were very, very aggressive and unkind and said mean things. And I had to very quickly learn not to take that personal. They're not talking to me, the individual. They're talking to the uniform. They're talking to the situation. So even things like that, people don't always realize. So it's important that I try to allow people a little more of a look inside the job so they can start this job with eyes wide open, you know, and get the most out of it. Yeah.
It's interesting what you said, because, for example, in Brazil, just my perspective, I know it's a role, right? Because I'm Brazilian. In Brazil, I was kind of afraid of police. When you see a police here in Canada, it's different. So I feel all nice. The police officer goes. So if you protect, in Brazil, it's different. So I don't know, but some people for sure doesn't have the same. Some don't have the same understanding, right? So
yeah. So everyone has the reason to feel how they feel, and everyone can feel how they feel. And like Danny said, the best thing we can do is not take it personally, right? Two people getting defensive is not going to bring anybody together. You have to be open-minded and actually be able to hear people that don't like you in order to bridge that gap. So that's one thing. The other myths that we typically face as recruiters is people will ask about height, weight requirements. They'll say,
yeah, I'm short.
They'll say stuff like, they don't have any police foundations or criminology or policing-related education. I know we already covered that, but that's not a limiting factor. We want people from all areas of study, all walks of life, that have a different perspective to bring. As long as they meet those requirements, as long as they're physically and mentally fit and ready to do the job, we don't care if you studied history or criminology.
That's because you studied history.
That's right.
Age also, right? Because I heard some people like entering the police really like after 40. Is common this? Usually, how's the average age?
As long as they pass the fitness test, we don't have an age cutoff. We want those people older in age, bring such valuable life experience that can't be replicated. They might have families, they might have kids, they might know way more about people because they've interacted with more people throughout their life. They've interacted with different generations. They've experienced different things, right? Some people have come from overseas and have an entirely separate life that they've brought here, right? They've overcome more challenges just by the sheer fact of being on Earth longer. So
yeah, we do definitely hire over 40. But the average age actually is around 27.
27.
Yeah. If you look at our youngest to our oldest. So keep that in mind. To our oldest, we've hired people that are 51 that I know of.
Oh, 51?
53-year-old.
Oh, nice.
Right? Because some people want to do this career. It's been on their bucket list of, I really want this. And now that their life has led them to this point.
I have lots of friends. When I was talking with friends, I'm going to talk with the recruits from the police. Man, it's my dream. I want to do, but now I'm old. I have a kid. They say, man, there is no age limitation. I hope you are watching this, man. See, they'll say 51, 52, so.
Yeah.
Never knows, right? Okay. How does the police force ensure a diverse and inclusive recruitment process?
So we're fortunate enough where our applicant pool is pretty diverse. Being in one of the most diverse areas in North America, we attract people of different ethnicities. It's kind of a natural progression. And a lot of people are very qualified. So we don't really have an issue with that diversity. What we do is we will host events, host local events, go to colleges, community events, wherever we're welcome to go, we go. Our team, we like to go everywhere and anywhere to meet people and talk to people because it's fun for us to get to know people and also help people envision themselves in a police uniform, right? Not everybody has had that person where they can ask questions or someone that will encourage them or provide that word of encouragement that they needed to get the ball rolling. So we like to be that person to get the ball rolling, and we're open-minded to go anywhere and help anybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. So nice. Yeah. What steps are taken to encourage underrepresented groups to apply and succeeded in the recruitment process?
It's the
think
exact
it's the
same as
same.
what we just said.
I'm like, I think it's gonna
With
be
our
fine.
with our recruiting process, we provide a lot of guidance. When an applicant comes through our process, they're working with one recruiter, and that recruiter works with them from the start to the finish. And lo and behold, the recruiter actually is interviewed at the board interview before the applicant. So we are bringing people to board that we want to get hired.
Oh,
Right? We're
yeah.
working with that person to get them hired. If they're successful throughout the whole process, they become somebody who we want to see succeed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make lots of sense, right? You also want good people there in the police. So
Yes.
yeah.
We try to work with as many different community groups as possible, and I think that's what helps us to build those relationships. So when they say, hey, I have somebody that's interested, or I have a group of people that are interested, then we go out and meet them and talk with them.
Great. Yeah. Let's see if this. Okay. What kind of training of preparation does a recruit go through once they are hired?
So each person, when they're hired, they go through 2 weeks of in-house training, and then they have 12 weeks of the Ontario Police College, 2 of which is currently online. So they do 2 weeks of online police college, and then 10 weeks of in-person police college at the Ontario Police College.
Paid?
Yes,
This
so
Yeah,
they're
paid.
all
being,
paid.
the moment they show up to
Yeah.
work, they're getting paid. Then after that, they have 8 or 10
8.
weeks, 8 weeks of post OPC training. So when they come back from the college, now we're looking to refine their skills, to apply what they've learned at the college to what we need from them in the region of Peel, right? So they have that amount of training before they're even sworn in. Once they're sworn in, then they spend 3 months with a coach, usually minimum. So you have 3 coaches. Each coach has them for about a month to develop their practical on the road, real life skills. So they're responding to calls. They're a real police officer, just with a trainer beside them, telling them what to do and how to do it properly.
Yeah, it's a really neat process when you think of what does training look like, because think of what a police officer does. They literally are expected to have a little bit of knowledge in just about everything. So they'll learn all the initial stuff, like the book stuff from Criminal Code, Highway Traffic Act, Liquor License Act, all of that stuff from the books, and they'll be tested on all that. But then they also have to learn practical. So they'll learn driving methods, and they go on tracks and they practice real life driving skills, but in a safe setting. They'll learn how to do scenarios, so where they're in the role of a police officer, but there's actors playing the other role. So they'll practice handcuffing and have to learn how to explain what their actions, why they did certain things. They'll have to practice writing out notes and everything, because everything is a skill that they're developing, but they need some actual experience in it, but it's all in a controlled, safe environment. And then afterwards, obviously, once they've passed all of that training at the Ontario Police College, then again with our police service, including all your firearms, all our use of force options, everything, they're trained over and over, because a lot of it you have to have that repetitive training to really get that muscle memory so that it becomes more natural. Everything to do with mental health and how to deal with people with different, that might have different issues. So you have to really practice your communication skills. They're going to get all of that training as well. So it just keeps coming. It's really one training session after another, and then they'll hit the road. And of course, obviously be sworn in as actual officers and have all of their equipment issued to them that is theirs personally and they're responsible for.
It's common people quit this training after, I don't know, maybe they are expecting some from the police and then they see the reality. I say, oh no, this maybe is too much for me.
It's a very low percentage that you'll ever see leaving from the training timeline, and only because I used to work in our training unit, I would say within the first year, that's where we're going to see somebody might leave, because now they're actually, it's not a training session now, it's not a safe scenario. Now I'm actually out on the road dealing with real people, and that means it's real time. There's no take backs. I can't say, oh, that didn't go well, let me do it again, right? It's real life.
Yeah.
So that's when sometimes people are going to realize this isn't quite what I thought it was going to be, or maybe it's just too real for them, or there's too many bad people and they don't want to deal with that. So whatever it is, sometimes we'll see that identified, and within that first year they will decide to say, I don't want to work with the police service anymore, and maybe they'll go back to their old career, or they'll take that training and everything that they've gotten and go into a different field. So, and I know people that have left and gone into our other, because we have obviously a lot of civilian people that work with our police service. So I know one that went into communications. I know another one that went into our prisoner escort. I know another one that went into a completely, almost like a facilities management role. So there are lots of opportunities within our police service, and we do try to accommodate those that find the uniform side is not for them. So it's really interesting, but it's a very low percentage usually.
I believe, for example, if the person goes to this course, let's suppose he quit, it should be like, I can say, easier to go to the civilian role. Yeah, because
well, once you work with us already, we're going to try to work with you to get you to the right spot that you're going to do well in.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah, I'm curious to talk about civilian sports as well, because police is huge, right? So yeah, lots of opportunities that you mentioned. So
Yeah.
really nice.
1/3 of our force is civilians. So.
1/3?
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, we need all the civilians to do all the work that they do. Otherwise, we can't do our job.
Yeah, makes sense, right? Yeah, you have support. You need support. Yeah. Is there any ongoing professional development or education that officers are required to complete after they join the force?
Do you want?
So we have ongoing training, like training modules that we get sent on a regular basis to keep up to date with legislation and different things like that. We also have annual training in relation to our use of force options. So all of our self-defense, all of our firearms, tasers, all of our equipment basically. First aid. We also have a safeguarding program for all the officers on the front line that have to speak to a psychologist once a year just to make sure that they're managing burnout and managing the demands of the job effectively. And if they need anything, at least they have somebody they can speak to refer them or to help them deal with any issues they're facing. So.
Yeah, and all our brand new officers, they're actually put on a track. It's a 5-year program that they are required to have a certain amount of courses, and we want to make sure that we actually call the cohorts, so they're the groups. When they get hired, they're one big group, and we try to bring them back every year to do that group training together. It's also a good check-in, so they can see how other people from their same class are doing, but they have that continued development. So if for some reason somebody couldn't make one of the training sessions, they would just reset them into another group, but try to get them back into their group after as the years progress. But it is a 5-year set program for all mandatory training to ensure everyone is exactly the same.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things in the police, even the chief of police, right? He went through the same process, right? They were like recruiting people, so everyone went to perform exactly the same level. So I think it's pretty fair, right?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Right. Like the reality is when you move out, like move up in your career or move into different areas, there might be more specialized training for the different bureaus, and then you will go and do that additional training, but it's very specific to your job role. But equally, our police service does believe in education and the benefits of it. So let's say you were working for Peel Police and you were like, hey, I really want to go get this degree. I think it would help me as, in my role and what I do. You would put in an application and our service would reimburse you for the cost of your education, so long as you pass everything. So you would go start as you finish one semester, then you would submit all your receipts and you get all your money back. So not everybody realizes that, but that's how much we value education, that we're willing to give you your money back for it.
Really, really interesting. Yeah. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who is interested in a career in policing but unsure about whether they meet all their qualifications?
The best advice I can give people who are on the fence or unsure is come out to an information session. Our recruiting team is there, our outreach team is there as well, and we're giving them all basically a lot of the same answers that we're giving you today. But the good thing is we'll be there in person and they can come down and ask us. They can put up their hand and ask individual questions, and we're not shy about answering questions. We like to help. We're in this profession because we like to help. We don't just help people in crisis. We help people looking for a career. So if someone has a question or someone has a limitation, ask. And if we can find a way, we'll make it work.
Yeah, you are so friendly, right? So it's good to know people that can help there. So why not? Yeah, I have to go there. Really nice. Are there any preparation steps or activities candidates can do before applying to improve their chance of being accepted?
I would say the best thing to do from like a global standpoint is be able to work on their fitness. You work on your fitness, that's something that's completely in your control. The next thing to do is work on your comfort being interviewed. It's not a very common thing that people do. I was lucky, we're in university. I applied to as many jobs every single summer as I possibly could have to find the best job or the easiest job or whatever it was to get me through the summer so I would have enough money to help pay for school in the fall and groceries and all that stuff. So I interviewed a lot. So I got comfortable sitting in an interview chair. Some people, this is their first big interview with a big company. And it's daunting. So get comfortable being uncomfortable, but also answering those questions. Every single job across the universe is going to ask you, why should we hire you?
Yeah.
Or why do you want to do this job? Practice.
Not only to bring to our areas about career, right? So I also a mentor, a volunteer mentor for some programs who help immigrants to find jobs in Canada. And one of the things that we teach them is to use the SAR methodology, right? Situation, action, results.
We use the same one.
Yeah, that's my question. That's exactly my question. Perfect. Yeah, because it makes lots of sense, right? So what situation or like what action did you do, what the result you get? So perfect.
Yeah. I always like to remind people, you only, like my partner said, you only have control over so many things. Fitness is huge. That's definitely in your control. But also remember, everything you do in the job, in your volunteer, you should do it to the best of your ability. So that when we talk to people again afterwards, they'll say you always put your best foot forward. You're not just there showing up doing just the bare minimum.
No.
So think about what you're already doing it. And are you doing the most in it, or could you do more?
Great. What qualities make an ideal police recruit beyond just physical and academic qualifications?
So the number one thing is teamwork skills, like being able to work within a team and being adaptable within a team. Sometimes that person that may be the most junior or maybe brand new might have to step into a leadership role. So being adaptable within a team atmosphere is important, and that's only learned through working within a team. If you've ever played sports or you've done a lot of team projects or you've worked within a small company where everyone's had to work and pick up the slack, that's a strong skill set to bring to the table. With teamwork comes leadership and followership. So to be able to lead in certain situations is important, right? As police officers, when there's crisis out there, we're looked at to lead the situation, to help people navigate a stressful situation. They don't know whether I've been on 5 minutes or 25 years. They're looking to me to lead. So that's a skill set. If you bring to the table already, it is strong. The followership, being able to be coached, being able to listen, being able to follow direction, that's a skill set that not a lot of people practice out in the real world other than listening to their parents or their boss or their coaches. But that's a very, very strong skill set to bring to the table, because it means you're receptive to feedback and criticism and you're looking to get better and to grow as a person. So those are two big ones. I don't know if Danny wants to.
I like that.
Communication,
Communication, conflict management, all regular things that make you a strong individual, right?
Resilience is huge because the job is challenging. Policing is a challenging job, physically, mentally, emotionally, whether it's shift work, whether it's work-life balance, whether it's going to stressful calls. It's challenging. That's not a secret. So you knowing who you are and how you manage stress and how you manage difficult situations is important. And it's important to have a good support network around you, or people that you feel comfortable talking to about how you're doing and where you need to be. So it's good to have that beforehand, because when you start this job, it starts rolling very fast. And like we said, the first year on, the learning curve is steep. It's a steep learning curve because you're no longer in a altered reality. You're no longer in a false world, right? You're in the real world dealing with real problems and helping people, right? So you have to be your best. And it can be daunting for people, and people can sometimes be overwhelmed with the challenge of making a difference, but at the same time, it's the most rewarding job you can find. It's rewarding and fulfilling because every single day you have the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. So
yeah, I think like we need really good people to deal daily against the wars, right? Because as I said, the life that we live, like we're not police officers, we don't face these kinds of situations every day on a daily basis. and the guy decides to go to the police, it's going to be the routine. Of course, I believe some days are better than others, but it's completely unexpected, right? So you don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Great. So once someone becomes a police officer, what kind of career development opportunities are available within the force?
Oh, there's so many. Like the reality is your average officer is going to change jobs every 3 to 5 years, depending on who you are and what you like. You could choose to stay on the front lines if that's what makes you happy, and you can move up in the ranks there. You could choose to move into different bureaus. So by that I mean, like, we have frauds, forensics, intel, recruiting. Like, there's all different areas. Robbery, like whatever you want. If you can think about it, there's probably a unit dedicated to working. We have very community supportive units as well. So if you want to be like, oh, I want to work with a crisis worker, we have units that work with crisis workers and go out and deal with different things as well. Like, so it's just that wide variety. So it's about choosing what is it that interests you and then relaying that to your supervisor. So let's say, for instance, you're like, oh, I really want to work in canine. I love the dogs and I think it would be great to track. And when I've been on the road and I've gotten a chance to be with them, it was just, wow, I think I would do really well in that. So you would tell your supervisor that, and then they would look at getting you what we call our ride-alongs. So that means you get to go and spend time with that unit and get a better inside look of what it is to work in that unit. And then you would create those relationships. You would find out what the requirements are. You would find out what special physical testing is required for that unit. And then you would start your training. So that way what you're doing aligns with that goal that you're setting out for yourself, and our areas support you in that. So it's very interesting. It really is, what do you want, and then you kind of go from there.
The job shadow opportunities are massive because there might be units you're unsure about. You're like, I like that, I don't know what it'd be like to work there. So you go and you experience it. The best secret, not secret, is the harder you work, it will be rewarding. You'll learn how to do the job at a high level. You'll learn about yourself. You also create a reputation for being a hard worker. And every single unit in any organization wants somebody who's ready to work hard. So if you're good at what you do and you work hard, you'll be able to navigate your own path in policing.
Great. Yeah, because when I saw from my perspective, sometimes I really see like something intel about like intelligence as well for the army. I don't know if probably police has something interesting. It's amazing. Yeah, the job is incredible. I'm a huge fan of police, so guys. So can you share any success stories of officers who joined the force through the recruitment process and went on to have very successful careers?
So, like we were talking about this question earlier, every single person who does get hired is successful. That's a success story. This is a very important job, and it's not easy to become a police officer. So to tell each person's story, like, that's their story to tell, right? We can tell our stories. Like, I grew up in the region. I was born and raised in Brampton. I played competitive football my entire life. I went to school at the University of Toronto, played football there, studied history. My whole life was surrounded by sports, family, teamwork, and constantly trying to be better, being pushed to be better, whether it's my family or my team, pushing me to be the best version of myself on the field, in the classroom, outside. So, just trying to be the best version of myself. Policing is something I always wanted to do. So I brought that mentality with me. It's trying to push myself to be the best. It was already something interwoven into who I am as a person. And then when I applied to be a police officer, something I brought to the table. So I'm happy with my career. I'm having a lot of fun. Like I said, it's the best job on earth. It's super fulfilling. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. Every single day, you truly have the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. Even in recruiting, we can help people find that pathway, help create those pathways for people to begin a career in policing. So for me, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, I couldn't imagine doing anything else.
How long have you been in the police?
I've been a police officer since 2016. So I tell people 9 years because when you add it up, but if you look at the numbers, it's more like, it looks like 8, but it feels like a lot shorter. It's flown by dramatically.
No, I can imagine like when in the police, lots of stuff that happens. So yeah, it's incredible.
I've known him since he started because I was in I trained his class.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which just shows you how things go full circle in the service. When you work, you start at one timeline, you go and do other things, and then you'll reconnect with different people at different timelines. So while I may have worked in the training area with his entire class when he started, they've all gone out. And I know another one's actually a trainer now as well. So the time passes quickly and the choices are quite limitless within the service, depending on what you want.
And the other thing that I just realized talk to you, I see how happy, proud to be a police officer you are, right? So you like transmit that for people who are talking to you. It is pretty important, right? So you show reality. How are you happy and how do you want people to be happy as you are out there doing what you're doing? So it's really excited. Yeah. How can prospective recruits stay motivated, stay up to date with changes in the recruitment process?
So the process can be grueling for people. Sometimes it can take a long time. Sometimes people are unsuccessful the first time around. What I'll say to anybody is if it's something you really want to do, if your heart is set on it, don't give up. It's the first test. Don't give up. Keep pushing. Keep becoming better. I had a football coach in my life provide me some very good advice. He said, don't give them a reason to say no. He was talking about other coaches to keep you off the field. But that advice applies to all everywhere across life, is if you give nobody a reason to tell you no, you're doing everything right. So go back, self-reflect, see what you can do. If it's just the process stalling and taking a long time, fill that time with something. Go and take a course. Go and start volunteering somewhere else. Learn a bit about yourself. And then when you come back, when you talk to that recruiter, it's like, oh, what have you done since we last spoke? Actually, I've done X, Y, Z. I've gone and traveled. I've studied. I've done this, right? You're showing that there's no wasted time. There's no downtime. You're proactive with your time and you're bettering yourself no matter what the occasion is.
There's no limit or tries where people can try. There is just a gap, right? If you don't pass, it depends on the fail, right? So you need to take longer, right?
Yeah,
to
so
reapply.
if we've closed your file, we'll give you a timeline when you can reapply.
Okay.
Right. So
okay.
that and I know people that have tried to get in and haven't. And it's like, and then they try again and it doesn't happen. And they try again and it doesn't happen. And then they try again and it does happen.
How many times usually average people take?
1-2 times.
Yeah,
like, is I would say the average. But we do get some that it just doesn't happen for many different reasons. It could be maybe they had too many speeding tickets in their history. So we're like, sorry, you are not showing us something that we're looking for right now. So wait a year and reapply. And then maybe during that year, something else happened. Nothing big, but it's just one thing added on to the next. So we're like, wait a year and try again. So it can happen. It could be that you go for your psychological and you're not successful, like my partner said. So wait a year and try again, because everybody's different in what they're going through. So I think you went through first try, right? I went through first try and I got it. But that's not everybody's story. It really comes down to how much do you want it? And for staying, knowledgeable about changes, well, then you would go to our website, because we're always listing what those procedures are, what's changing, what the updates are. You can go to our social media. We have a social media account on Instagram under Appeal Police Recruiting. So we post regular information there as well. So if you want to know what changes are happening as a recruit as you're going through your process, then stay connected with us. If you're already talking to like one of us, like as in the outreach side of the team, or if you're talking to another recruiter, or if you have a friend that's an officer, then keep that connection and keep asking them questions and stay updated, right?
Yeah.
You have control over that.
Very nice. The police foundation course is not really necessary, right?
No.
But helps.
I think it can.
Yeah.
I never did it. I don't think you did.
I didn't do it.
So we're not good examples.
Can you
But
explain a little bit what is this police
people that did it.
foundation, right?
So Police Foundations is a college program that'll teach you about the criminal code and a lot of the basic elements of policing. Like they do a pretty good job of teaching people and preparing people. Now, we're going to teach you that anyways, is what we're saying. We're going to teach you how to be a police officer. So sometimes it's valuable to bring a unique perspective to the job. Now, if your heart's set on policing, you can't sit in a classroom and study anything other than policing, that's the course for you. If you're unsure about policing and you want to get to know it a little bit, maybe that's a good course for you. It's a great program to be in. It's a great program to learn. It's just not mandatory, and that's a misconception that a lot of people have, especially when I go to universities and speak with people. I say, well, I don't have police foundations, so I have to go back to college. I say, no, you don't. Your education is valuable because it's a unique perspective. Like I tell people I studied history and they laugh. But
it's so important.
But the reality is, as a police officer, we might be given a small detail. We got to learn about everything about that detail. Right? Investigation, you might have a crumb and you have to turn it into a cake, right? So from studying history, that's what you're working with. You're working with a small fact. You got to expand on it. So having that ability to think analytically and critically about stuff is important. And how do we learn that? In school? Because when we're out with our friends, sometimes we have deep conversations, but nobody's talking about the historical events and their impact on humanity. So
history, from our perspective, it's so important because you have to learn from mistakes you did in the past to fix them. Even though humanity is not doing a good job on this, but anyway, it's really important. But yeah, crazy. Okay, so what's the most rewarding part of being involved in the recruitment process from your perspective?
I would say seeing someone's face when they're successful and knowing that you had a role to play. You're not the reason they got hired. That's something that person did that themselves. They got hired. But knowing that you might have given them the right motivation at the right time, or you might have pushed them in the right direction at the right time, and that helped them. And just, we signed up for this job to help people. And I tell people all the time, helping people is something that should be in your nature. You should be helping your family, you should be helping your friends, you should be helping people in crisis, and you should be helping people looking for a job. We should be open and willing to helping everyone. So when you can see the fruits of your help, I guess that's a new figure of speech I just coined. But when you see somebody you helped walking through the hallway in a uniform and being proud to be wearing a uniform, that's a pretty cool feeling. So
yeah, I do. And maybe because I've seen people from the very beginning, I like seeing them as they progress in their career, as they go through different things, and I check in with them, and it's like first they were very young and everything was new, and now they're finding their way, and then they're getting married and they're having kids as well, and it's like watching people grow up, and we are one big family, so it's pretty neat that way, and I like that.
Great. Is there anything else you think potential recruits should know about the police recruitment process in Canada that you didn't mention on these questions?
So a unique incentive that we offer is if you score above 90%, so if you get 91 or above at the police college, we actually will reclass you in 6 months. So the normal progression is about a year. So you get sworn in. For a year from your sworn in date, you go from 4th class to 3rd class. But if you get above 90 or 91 and above, in 6 months, you go from 4th class to 3rd class, and that's about a $10,000 to $15,000 difference.
Just shy of 10.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. So if money's important and you're getting paid to go and learn anyways, why not get over 90? Why not try for that?
Yeah.
So that way you can have that potential, reclassification, because it's good to have a higher salary.
Yeah, for sure. And my last question, but not least, very important as well. Can you talk a little bit about the retirement, how it works?
So our retirement is very interesting. Obviously, we pay into it through your whole entire career. So from the moment you're hired, you're going to pay into that pension program. And then at the end of your career, so usually at that 30-year mark, though it's not mandatory, you could continue on if you wanted to, and the percentage will grow a little bit, just a tiny bit. You'll get what we call is the best 60% of the last 5 years. And it's really your highest, but traditionally speaking, your last 5 years will be your highest wage that you've made. And then you'll get that money, just keeps coming. And it doesn't have like a cutoff age. It goes until you pass away. So you'll get a monthly paycheck for the rest of your life once you retire, which isn't bad when you think of, I have I'm going almost on 24 years. So, but officially I have 23 complete years. And I'm already looking at what does that countdown look like for me. I will be 53 years old when I retire. So that's not too shabby in the grand scheme of things, and I will be able to be comfortable, and I will have more than enough money that I can do whatever I want with my life within reason if I'm not too crazy. And I do like to travel a lot, so that's important to me. And it allows me that ability. Not to mention I also have health benefits that will be complete and full until I'm 75 years old. And after that, I can pay into a program. So if I want to continue to have health benefits, right? So it's having that option and that care. So that's going to keep on, supporting, you in your life. And not every job has that kind of security anymore. Some jobs have different levels, we'll say, of security, but this one is on the higher end, which we're very fortunate to have.
Yeah, very good. And just remind people that that's actually this was my last question, but we're gonna have this event with. I'm not sure if you're gonna be there, guys, both of you, on January 18th.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, see,
We're looking
guys,
forward to it.
see this opportunity to talk directly with them. Maybe you have questions, you want to like clarify some points, so just to know them better, right? I think they want to know you as well, right? So they want to know who you are, why you want to like enter the police. So go there, January 18th. Gonna put all the information here on the link. Our director gonna put. So go there, talk to them, clarify. So hope in the future, if you go to this event and then you enter the police, just contact us. So we're gonna be more than happy to interview you to see how we help you to go to the police. So that's our goal. I'd like to say thank you very much for answering our questions. I think it was amazing actually. As I mentioned to you, I'm really a huge fan of the police. I interviewed like 4 Brazilians. They're going out. We are really proud because this is one of the best audience that we had was with the police officer. People like in Brazil love police officer. Pretty sure the people across the world. So when you're doing English, so lots of people gonna listen to this and see and understand more about the Peel Police Force. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Bye.